Wherever you are, welcome to another of my takes on China. And this time I'm going to talk about a city like no other that I've been into in China. Many people who say of the entire region of Xinjiang, it's hard to believe we're still in China. And that is very true of Kashgar. I've cycled several thousand kilometers inside of Xinjiang, but the southern part of the region has always evaded me. I've seen the grasslands in the north, I've seen the snow-capped mountains of the center and the west, I've cycled through the Tarim Basin and parts of the Taklamakan Desert, but until this week, I'd never been to Kashgar. What did I know of Kashgar? Well, I knew it was once a hotbed of extremists, but that's changed. It's very safe and secure. The days when extremist Uyghurs murdered moderate Uyghurs and blew up bus stations and markets full of innocent people are long gone. But they really did happen. I'd heard that the entire ancient city had been destroyed and replaced with high-rise buildings, so I wasn't looking forward to seeing that. When I got there, I found not only is there a massive enclave of adobe buildings, there's a thriving tourism industry there, and what surprised me most of all was the number of people who make that area their home. The tourists get to stay on the outer streets where they can purchase the trinkets, the handmade artifacts, the locally manufactured knives, pots, household items, but they can also get the usual tourist rubbish there too. What's so special about this tourist trap is the food. Yogurt, ice creams, the ubiquitous yanro chuan or the lamb skewers. My personal favorite for breakfast is the lamb buns, and at 2 RMB per bun, they're delicious. We can also get locally brewed beer there, preferably not for breakfast. Another thing I was told is that it's unsafe. There are a lot of thieves. That turned out to be complete rubbish. Not only are there not a lot of thieves, but if there were, there'd be plenty of things for them to steal because people just leave their bikes out. They leave items on their bikes, and there are literally thousands of tourists to steal from. Yet there's no evidence of any crime visible. I also got told the culture is being erased. Local people aren't allowed to do things that they've done in the past. They can't read or speak their own language. They can't go to the mosque or dress as they like. Every single one of these things is false and has been refuted many, many times by people who've been there to find out for themselves. So if anyone tells you they know differently, ask them when they were last there. And if they tell you they're from there, ask them how they left, where they live now. They left with a passport issued by this supposed oppressor through an airport policed and administered by the same oppressor. And now they live in a country where many of them are paid to tell us that they were oppressed. You can listen to and watch Uyghur radio and TV. You hear Uyghur language spoken everywhere outside the schools and the markets. You see a building. Everywhere has buildings with Uyghur writing on it. So it's safe, it's friendly, it's welcoming, it's open, there are no restrictions at all to get there. The overall region that is Kashgar is big. It borders several different countries, including Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Afghanistan, and Pakistan. So it's a pretty important historical place in terms of regional trade. And that's been good for business, but that was bad because of US geopolitics. As the camel train stopped coming through the region, it went into an economic decline. It was in poverty and it was facing difficulties with extreme weather, geographical isolation, neighboring conflicts, and poverty. China needed to do something special or the region would die. It didn't. China did something special. I did a bit of research and found there are literally hundreds of programs going on to lift the region. They range from sporting associations through football, soccer, tourism initiatives, agricultural projects, and one I particularly like, which has been going on for 15 years now, is called the Shen Kashgar Social Workstation. They do lots of things to help the region, but one of my favorite stories was called the Sheep Baby Project. The city of Shenzhen partnered with Kashgar in 2010 by providing 80 impoverished households with 5 sheep each. And the idea was that each household would rear the sheep for the meat and the wool, as well as breeding them. In the second year after the first lambs had been reared, the sheep produced then would be passed on to other impoverished families Within 10 years, 1,660 families had benefited from this program. There's a lot more that goes on, such as training on animal husbandry, provision of free pesticides and free fodder, and other things that are needed. But the bottom line is, people in Kashgar are getting help from people in Shenzhen and other places, and that's a good thing. There are literally hundreds of small-scale projects such as this, and tens of thousands of people in the region have been lifted from poverty. Sometimes poverty is exploited to create extremism, but now they're in relative affluence. Just how good has this been for the people is very hard to tell from statistics, but it's very clear from walking around the city. Kashgar's gross domestic product reached 150 billion last year, representing a 6.4% increase, which is much higher than the national average. New homes are being built everywhere, even in the ancient town, but that one that still survives. There are plenty of businesses thriving, and I found it was really cheap to buy stuff there. I'll give you some examples. I went for a meal on my own on the last night, and I ordered my favorite Xinjiang dish, dapanji, which literally means large plate of chicken. It's usually an entire chicken chopped up into chopstick-sized pieces and served in a delicious, spicy and aromatic sauce with large, flat, homemade noodles. I got 2 beers, one to drink while I waited for the cook and the other to drink while I ate what they'd cooked. Because there was only one of me, I asked for the zhongpanji, which is half a chicken. All the spices and sauce, my noodles, 2 beers, half a chicken. The entire bill was 31 RMB. That's almost exactly $4 or £3. I came home with 5 kilograms, that's 11 pounds of Mediterranean dates and other dried fruit, which cost me a total of 160 RMB. That's $22 or 18 British pounds. Luckily, on Chinese planes, the entitlement is 15 kilograms, so despite having a heavy bag, it was free to get home. And I'm a tourist. Living in Kashgar on $1,000 a month would be easy. Everything there is cheap, the food is delicious, and the only drawback would be the weather. It's brutally cold in winter, it can get hellishly hot in summer, and it's very dry and dusty. Anyone can visit there. It's really easy. It's a 6-hour flight from Shenzhen, Guangzhou or Hong Kong, and about 5 hours from Beijing or Shanghai. This is why BBC or CNN will tell you it's difficult to go there. Not because there are any restrictions, there aren't, but because you need plenty of time to go. I strongly recommend making time and visiting. I'm already planning my next trip, but this one will be with my wife. I want her to see the wonderful things I've seen and meet some of the people that I met there. Now, there's one other thing that needs clarifying about Kashgar, and that is the government did not tear down the ancient city to erase local culture. They started work on this in 2008 after a devastating earthquake in Sichuan, which happens to be on the same fault line as Kashgar, and that one killed 90,000 people almost. Western media were full of criticisms of China because buildings in Sichuan collapsed. Imagine what those same media would say if the ancient city of Kashgar, which has seen 1,140 earthquakes in the last 10 years, was destroyed and another 100,000 people died. So if anyone tells you China did the wrong thing by pulling down what was an ancient adobe city and replacing it with modern safe city, show them the link that I've attached here. You'll find Kashgar still experiences an earthquake every 3 days on average. China very much did the right thing. Despite the necessity of tearing down thousands of structures, very few of them were ancient, and many of them were illegal. What's been left is a thriving hub where people live, work, and derive an income from the 20 million or so tourists who visit every year. Here's an interesting thing. When the US government tells us lies about Xinjiang, I have to ask one question. Why is it that so many US companies are there right now doing business? There's KFC, there's McDonald's, there's the other junk food outlets, there are Starbucks, there are hotels galore. I stayed in a Hyatt hotel, which is an American brand. There's also in Xinjiang Hilton Hotels, Marriott Hotels, hundreds of other US brand names, including Tesla and Apple. If they can operate there, what's the issue? The truth is, all of those companies have done their due diligence. They know there's no oppression. They know they operate there and can employ and do employ Uyghurs. They know their government knows this too. And the only reason why the US government persists in this narrative and pays people to promote it is because it's the most important region in China for cross-border trade with Eastern Europe, Eurasia, and Russia. If the US ever decides to put a chokehold around China's sea lanes, they can't stop the trains traveling overland unless they control the region, and that's what they would like to do. I get a lot of flack from people telling me Xinjiang is a problem area, it's not safe, it's been oppressed, or its people are persecuted. And the only thing I can say to you is that is total and utter rubbish. Go there and see for yourself. Tell me what you find. You can't hide the truth. You can only write lies about it from places like Washington. And believe me, there are plenty of people doing that. Washington hates to see China thrive, and Xinjiang has been a fundamental and integral part of China since before Jesus was born. What a shame that so many people are misinformed and will come into my comment section to tell me that I'm the liar, many of them without ever having visited the region to see for themselves. You can judge for yourselves. I will just be deleting the negative comments about this region, not because I can't take criticism, but because I'm not wasting any more of my time refuting paid and proven liars.